Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining. My name is Gonen. I'm the head of cloud security products at Check Point. I'm going to take you through a couple of steps here in this session that we're going to go through. One of them is really talking about what's changing around us. I think most of you know that and feel what you're going through, but we're going to focus more about what does that impact and how does that impact your strategy around security. And then that part is really not going to be specifically Checkpoint related. I really want to help you sort of frame your mind around how to tackle cloud security. And then we're going to go a bit into how Checkpoint actually can help you tackle these challenges with the CloudGuard platform and what we're bringing to the market. And some of this stuff is already out there. So let me share my screen and let's get right into it. So like I said, we're going to talk about the changes or the change drivers in cloud security, key requirements, what you should be thinking about, and then really, what does the journey look like? Sort of giving you a map so you can know where you are or what you need to go through as you progress through this journey. So let's start with what's changing. I think most of you are knowing this, is that your data center and applications are now everywhere. That's the biggest thing. There, you have your traditional data centers on premise. You have the centrally managed branch offices. Your application were sort of traditional three-tier monoliths, so they are slow changing. It's been 10 years ago when something changed or a new release of an application was once a week or once a month. We were saying, oh, wow, this is really, really fast. Today, everything moves way faster. And then we have our on-premise applications. When you look at this new environment that we are all living in, these traditional data centers are now everywhere, really, and your applications are now everywhere. It's in a hybrid environment, so on your private cloud, some of it and a lot of it are already today in the public cloud environment, and some of them will be in the public cloud environment. You have remote offices connected directly to the cloud. You don't have anymore that hub and spoke type architecture. Your applications are now not just these slowly changing monoliths. They are now made of these advanced technologies, cloud native technologies like containers and serverless and all these microservices that are changing very fast, and obviously the use of SaaS applications. The real difference though, yes, all of this is different. Your architecture, your data center and application architecture dramatically looks different. But the biggest change really is that everything is just changing so fast. So if it took years probably to build a new data center, what happened in the last 10 years with the cloud revolution is that it takes a developer and a script to launch a new data center. If application, like we mentioned earlier, changed every 3 months, 6 months, you had a release cycle. Release cycles now are daily. That is really, if you look at the what's changing in the cloud, that is the biggest thing. It's scale and speed, and we're going to talk about that. That is the biggest difference. And you sort of had your security blueprint in mind for the last 10 years. If you were a CISO or you were a security practitioner, when I dropped you in a new environment, in a data center environment, I said, hey, how do you secure the data center? You sort of knew what you're going to do. You had a blueprint in place. That blueprint would be, I'm going to do network security and threat prevention. Okay, so I'm going to put a security gateway. Hopefully you're working with checkpoints. So you're going to put a checkpoint security gateway. I'm going to do advanced threat prevention and all sorts of cool stuff in that perimeter. And I'm going to use that for macro and micro segmentation. I'm going to do posture management. I'm going to check my environment in the data center for vulnerabilities. I'm going to patch operating systems. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any known attack surface. Okay, so you did posture management, nothing new here. You did application security. You had a web application firewall. You had maybe a SaaS tool, and you were making sure that your applications are not attacked. So application layer attacks. And you had, if you were very advanced, you had some sort of a data center network detection and response type solution, NDR, that you were looking across your data center environment to understand if something is happening that shouldn't be happening. Now, when you look at what's changing in the cloud, these pillars are not changing. It's the same pillars. Your data center is now in the cloud. Your applications are now in the cloud. What's really changing is what we talked about earlier, which is how do I do that thing at cloud scale and speed? Now, scale and speed sounds like trivial, right? You're thinking right now, okay, scale and speed makes sense. Okay, scale, there's going to be a lot of it. And speed, it's going to change really fast. It's a bit more than that. It's not just it's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be 100 times more of it. And it's not just it's a bit faster. It's 100 times faster. Everything is 100 times harder. So your network security right now, yes, you still need to have a security gateway because you still want to isolate your environment from the outside world and make sure that you are able to inspect everything that comes in, everything that comes out, and you can segment. How do you do that when a developer can launch a data center with a script? How does that look like when your data center can scale up because there's more traffic and the cloud auto scales? How does that look like? How does network security look like in this new world? How does posture management look like when it's not anymore about your machines in your data center? It's about making sure that the cloud services that you're using, the AWS RDS service, which is a database service, the AWS S3 bucket, which is a storage service. How do you make sure that these are configured correctly? Now, AWS or Azure or GCP or all these cloud providers are introducing hundreds of new services every year. How do you make sure that they are properly configured? How do you even know what's properly configured when it comes to these things? And now your developers can launch hundreds of machines or hundreds of containers or thousands of serverless functions with a click of a button. How do you know if they're properly configured? How do you know if they have vulnerabilities? How do you keep track? How do you provide governance? How do you do the stuff that you used to be able to do? And we thought that was hard 10 years ago. How do you do that when everything is times 100, scale and speed times 100? Same thing goes to application security. Probably one of the hardest areas to solve to, even before cloud. Application security was always hard, always, because the biggest challenge was when you had a web application firewall or some sort of a web application security in place, you had to make sure that it is always fine-tuned every time an application changes. And even in the past, when application changed relatively slow, web application firewalls have been a huge hassle to keep maintained. And otherwise you'll have a lot of false positives. Now you're moving into this environment where developers have continuous integration and continuous delivery cycles. Things change all the time. There's no such thing anymore of you waiting for a security guy to actually configure a firewall or a web application firewall or security. You just go. There's no stopping time. You can't say, hey, you know what? You're going to deploy a new version. Give me 2 weeks so I can configure everything and make security is in place. There's no such thing anymore. We have to adapt to that new environment where things change at super speed and they are fully automated. And same thing goes for cloud intelligence. Same thing that you had to do intrusion detection in your data center environment. How does that look like in that scale and speed environment? So really the biggest challenge, and that's what we've been hearing from everyone, it's not about the blueprint. Yes, there's new areas, there's new type of workloads. And now you have containers and serverless, and now you have cloud services instead of just your own machines. You have a new type of network, maybe. Yes, these are all different, but the biggest challenge for everyone is scale and speed and to move at the speed of DevOps. Because if you think about it, and this is where really all of these challenges come together, if you think about what people like yourselves are telling us, is that everything that they are supposed to secure in the last 10 years has been automated. Think about it for a second. If you look at the environments that we as security practitioners are charged with securing, they have been automated. A lot of effort have been put into making sure that developers can launch more functionality, more applications at more speed. That's the whole DevOps revolution. And if you think about it even further, you see how much easier it is today for developers to do this stuff. Yes, they have all these Jenkins and CI/CD pipelines. By the way, they're using tons of open source from all over the place, so they need to write less code. And listen to what the cloud did. It actually automated infrastructure. They don't need to wait for infrastructure. They don't need to wait for scale. Just think about serverless for a second and this new revolution of infrastructureless environment where a developer can write a function, a code, a Lambda function, let's say on AWS, drop it in the cloud, and just assume the cloud is going to scale it for infinity if you need to. Everything is automated around us. So the biggest question for security practitioners is really these three things that you see here. How do I do security? Not just how do I solve for whatever, container security, application security, network security, serverless security, not just how do I solve to that. How do I solve to that at scale and speed? So how do I do security at scale? I need to deploy multi-layer security across everything. Today I'm on AWS, tomorrow I'm on Azure. Then I'm going to GCP. I'm using containers, I'm using serverless. How do I do that? How do I do that at speed? When I know no one is gonna wait for me. And guys, listen, this is the biggest probably takeaway from this thing. There's no more time. No one is gonna give you the time to actually put security in place. No one is gonna wait for you to put security in place. No one's gonna wait. Developers are gonna run. And once you open up the cloud to them and they understand that they can do so many things so much faster, they're just going to run. You do not have time. So how do you really do security at speed? How do you keep up with all of this? And within doing that, you have to make sure that the experience for the developers is easy enough for them to actually use security. So if you want to bring in developers and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a tool so you can actually check if your stuff is secure before you deploy it, it has to be easy to use. It has to be deployed and integrated into the way that they are currently developing and deploying code. Otherwise, you're just going to go around it. The developers, application developers, which are driven by business needs, they are the winners of this thing, or not the winners, they are the kings. And we have to adapt to them. And then the last one is everywhere. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I need to do this across today, maybe AWS. Tomorrow, I need to do this across Azure and then GCP. I started with virtual machines. Now I'm with containers. Then I'm with serverless functions. How do I keep up with all of these things? So I need a security solution, or an approach at least, that can take me through doing these things at scale. So yeah, today I'm securing 100 containers. Tomorrow I'm securing 10,000 containers. I need to do that at speed because things are changing super fast. So I can't allow anything manual. And then I need to do this everywhere. So I want to suggest to you the way that we're looking at this. And even though everything here is pink, this is not really a checkpoint thing. I think that you really should be thinking in this way around how you approach cloud security in the future. So there's 3 pillars here. Security, automated everywhere. Now you would think security is trivial, right? Of course, we're doing a security presentation here. We're talking about security, but really I want to urge you to think about security in 2 realms, and both of them are super, super important. One of them, it all starts with proper posture. In the cloud, more than ever, I know every one of us here on this call has dealt with posture. We understand that we need to make sure that there's no vulnerabilities, that things are configured correctly, that people have list privilege, all that stuff. We've done it in the past. In the cloud, it is way more important. And actually, if you read research, 95 or 97, I can't remember the percentage, but it's super high, of cloud breaches are a result of misconfigurations. And if you think about what I said earlier, it makes perfect sense. Of course, it's going to be a result of misconfiguration. There's so many things out there, and developers are using everything that they can in the cloud, and they're changing all the time. So of course, you're going to have misconfigurations. And once you have a misconfiguration, that's it. The attacker is going to find it, whether it's as simple as a public S3 bucket storage that people have access to, or you leaving a machine or a function or a container or some sort of an access that is misconfigured, has more permissions than it needs, and someone gets in. Posture is super important. It all starts with posture. I'm going to talk about what are the key criteria to actually making posture work. The second thing is prevention. Now, Checkpoint has been saying prevention forever. A lot of the time, from the point that it is, you really want to stop something, just knowing that it exists is not enough. I want to suggest to you that there is another notion here. Actually, in the cloud era, this is not just about security anymore. Prevention needs to be your approach because you just can't handle and deal with alerts. Scale and speed. Think about it, scale and speed. If you have now a screen that has 1 billion alerts, it's going to be too much. You're not going to be able to handle it. The mindset needs to be, hey, I'm going to handle posture, so I'm going to prevent and reduce the attack surface. And if I actually find something, I need to stop it because I don't have the time and the resources and the people to deal with it. I need it to be stopped or prevented. So posture and prevention are the real 2 components that you need to think about in cloud security. The second piece, which is probably the most important piece here, automation. Listen, it ain't done till it's automated. Everything around you, just remember this. If you come out with anything from this presentation, just remember this. It ain't done till it's automated. If your security practices and processes and tools are not helping you automate security for the cloud, you're gonna fail because everything you are securing is automated. You are securing a fully automated value chain. If your security is not automated, you're gonna fail. There's 2 things that I want you to remember that you need to automate. One of them is what says here DevOps. What it really means is you need to automate the presence of security. What do I mean by that? If someone deploys now a serverless function into the cloud, a container, and now he suddenly deploys 10,000 containers, or he deployed 1 and the cloud itself scaled it out to 10,000. You are not you do not have the privilege anymore to actually go there and deploy security. Security needs to be there automatically, just like it's an automated exercise to deploy that function or container or virtual machine or cloud environment or workload. The security needs to be there automatically. You cannot afford anymore, okay, wait, I'm going to put security there. So the presence of security, whatever you decided needs to be there automatically. If that serverless function is deployed into the cloud, whatever security you decided needs to be together with that serverless function, whether it's posture or actual runtime protection, needs to be there automatically. So that's number one. The second thing that has to be automated is the configuration of that security, because same reason, you don't have time to call anyone and now write policies. The policies have to be there automatically. And if the application changes or the workload changes or the network changes, you need to make sure, or at least that's your aspiration, that security doesn't need manual configuration. The policies, the protection policies adapt automatically to changes. Now, in the world of applications, that is super hard. Most technologies out there, traditionally, forget cloud, cannot do that. And in the cloud, because things change way faster than before, like we said, the 100 times rule, it's even harder. So, but without it, you're going to fail. If you can't automate that piece, no one's going to wait for you. You're going to have gaps. You're going to have an attack. And everywhere, I think, speaks for itself. We need the same security, posture, prevention, automated, presence of security, security policies, everywhere we go. Private cloud, public cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, virtual machines, containers, serverless functions, wherever we go, we need to have an ability to actually automate security wherever we go. So these are the three pillars. Now, listen, can you get to security automated everywhere at day one? Let's say that your company, the organization you're with, moved to the cloud, started moving production workloads to the cloud. And now you're sitting there looking and saying, hey, okay, great, DJ. How do I get this? You don't necessarily get there at day one. And I'm going to show you what I think the journey looks like. But that is what should be the aspiration. You are not done with your plan until you've done this thing. And I will tell you another thing. Don't buy into what I call day one solutions. So day one solutions are solutions that, when someone shows you a demo or a process, by the way, I'm not just talking technology, whatever it is, process and technology. Someone shows you a demo and says, yeah, I think I solved it. Look at this. It does 1, 2, 3. What you should be asking, great, looks great on a sample size of 1. How does that look like when everything is 100 times? 100 times faster, 100 times the scale. Because that's really where things break. It's not about that one time, that one thing. Think scale and speed. And you'll find out really fast that if you can't automate that scale and speed, you're going to fail. So security, automated everywhere. These are the real three pillars. It's a journey. You don't have to get there at day one. You probably can't get there at day one. But you have to keep in mind that your criteria, your definition of done is when everything is automated and everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about what Checkpoint brings into the table in this regard. So we've spent a lot of time over the last 2.5, 3 years, and I'm going to show you in a second, and thinking about this type of things. What can we bring into this picture that really solves to these three pillars? And one of the things that was very clear from the get-go is that we have to bring a platform approach. Because if I want to be able to consistently automate security everywhere, it can't be point solutions. Now, can we develop everything by ourselves? No. And actually, this is something that maybe a lot of people don't know, because Checkpoint tradition has not been a very noisy company, let's call it, is that we went on a serious acquisition spree. And what you're looking at here is the platform that we built, CloudGuard. And CloudGuard is a combination of a series of acquisitions Checkpoint did over the last 2.5 years. Actually, 2 years, I want to say. Yeah, 2 years probably. And obviously a lot of organic development, because we are a security company. But there's 4 acquisitions on this, three big acquisitions on this picture actually. And what you're looking here at the circle, you can almost notice that it sort of maps into what the pillars that I mentioned earlier. You need to take care of network security. How do we do that in a public cloud environment? We have to take care of posture management. So in the cloud, you call it cloud security posture management. You need to take care of applications. Now there's 2, so we sort of broke application security here into 2. There's what the world should be calling application security or workload security, because in the cloud, you're moving workloads to the cloud. And a workload is not a specific container. Sometimes it is a bit confusing. A workload is the actual application that you're moving. It is made out of these compute functions, serverless functions, virtual machines, containers, whatever. So we took care of web application and API protection. And I'm going to talk about how and what's different about it. And then, yes, these applications are made out of these serverless functions and containers, and we want to make sure that they are properly configured and that they are secured. And that's a whole paradigm by itself. So we have a solution for that. And then we have our solution for cloud intelligence, and specifically on top of that, threat hunting or intrusion detection in the cloud. Taking all of this into perspective, you have a full unified platform for cloud native security, or for securing your public cloud environment. Now, when you look at this, there's 3 acquisitions here, like I mentioned, that Check Point did over the last 2 years, and brought them together into a platform, which is really, that is really the hard part. Buying companies is not hard if you have money, right? Putting them together and making a sense out of them from a strategic perspective, that's where the money or the rubber hits the road, right? So you look at here, Check Point acquired a company called Dom9, which is actually the basis for this platform. We acquired a company called ForceNock a year and a half ago in the web application space. Check Point acquired a company called Protego Labs, actually a company I was one of the founders late last year, beginning of this year, which we focused on serverless security. And now we're taking that solution and extending it to container security. And I'm going to talk about that. And part of the Dom9 acquisition, we also got our cloud intelligence platform, which allows us to do super sophisticated attack detection in the cloud. And the only piece that is here that is not specifically came through acquisition is our security gateway. Some of you might know our CloudGuard security gateway as CloudGuard IaaS. That's the name that we're using right now. And that's really our security gateway technology, market-leading security gateway technology, reborn for the cloud. So the ability to actually deploy it automatically, the ability to configure it automatically, and the ability to scale it out automatically just natively to the cloud. So when you look at this set of solutions here, you have your journey. And really, when you think about it, this is the way that you should be looking at this thing. It's a journey. You should start. The first thing, if you're moving to the cloud, which I'm sure you are, if you didn't move yet, you're moving today. If you didn't move today, you're going to move tomorrow. The journey needs to look like this. Elementary school, sort of where you start, is you need to make sure you take care of your virtual cloud perimeter with a cloud security gateway solution, right? That's where you start. And then you need to take care of posture management. If you remember, what do I have? Who put it there? Is it properly configured? Does it have least privilege? Does it have vulnerabilities? If I need to be compliant with PCI, GDPR, some sort of regulation, am I compliant? How do I do that in a continuous and automated fashion? How do I remediate automatically? That's what cloud security posture management answers to. Then, if you remember, application security, huge issue. You moved an application to the cloud. How do I put an application security solution, a web application firewall, if you may, and now more than ever, API security to applications that change all the time? And then once I've done that, how do I actually secure what the application is made of? Think about sort of defense in depth. This is high school. Application security and cloud workload protection or cloud compute function protection, like serverless containers and all that stuff, sort of high school now. I'm in high school, I'm protecting the actual applications that are inside the cloud. How do I do that in an automated fashion? Remember, it's not enough to say I'm doing serverless security. It's not enough to say I'm doing container security. It's not enough to say I'm doing application security. How do you automate that thing? And then cloud intelligence and threat hunting. That's sort of the journey. Elementary school, network, and security posture management. Without these two, you're going to fail anyway, because your stuff is just going to be out there in the open, basically. And then you move to application security. There's 2 layers here. There's application, looking at the application as a whole, and then securing what's making these applications, and then intelligence and threat hunting. Think about this sort of zooming out now and looking across your entire environment and understanding what's there. Anyway, obviously I went through a lot, and to go deep into each and every one of these solutions requires way more than 25 minutes. But what I want you to get out with is that your pillars is you have, and that's really when you need to do a check on your journey into the cloud. Yes, network, threat prevention, you need a cloud security gateway, you need posture management, you need application security, and then you need to protect whatever is making these applications, and you need cloud intelligence. You need all of this stuff to go across your entire environment. So you need to have not just a unified platform, because otherwise it's just going to be impossible to manage. You need to have that security with posture and prevention in mind. You need to have it automated from the presence of security all the way to policies, to be automated, and you need to have it everywhere. So when you move from AWS to Azure or add Azure, you want to make sure that you can use the same platform. And this is really where CloudGuard, the checkpoint platform, is coming in. And that's where we have put a lot of effort, like I said, both organically, but a lot of acquisitions, putting them together. What I would suggest is you remember these pillars, the 3 pillars I talked about. And if you actually want to see how these things look like in reality, then call your account manager, ask for a demo. Really cool tech there. A demo speaks way more than a presentation I can give you. Anyway, sorry for speaking fast. Hopefully this was helpful, and good luck with your journey to the cloud.